ladies and gentlemen, and everyone watching, and pets and whoever else is here. Yeah, lesson 29. I'm glad that Evie is now keeping track. Still need to upload a lesson or two this week. But here we are now, Japanese 101. Which is a series in which I explain to you Japanese grammar to the best of my abilities. And the lesson today will be about using Te-Iku and Te-Kuru. So, let's jump in. 英語うまい。頑張ります。So, using Te-Iku and Te-Kuru, what are these two? You know Iku and Kuru, I hope. We're going to actually talk a little bit about Iku and Kuru in this lesson, because Iku and Kuru, you may know them as to go and to come, but I want to talk a little bit more in detail about it. かなこべさん、フォローありがとうございます。よろしくお願いします。So, what are Te-Iku, Te-Kuru, how do they work? So let's give this a go. I hope I can do it properly. I mentioned this to the stream earlier. I literally just got home from uni, and I didn't have any like real time. We even had technical difficulties, but Jouzui, yeah, Jouzui isn't bad as well. So first of all, let's talk about Iku and Kuru. Didn't begin with the dinosaur age, please. Don't begin with that. What dinosaur age? Going to, coming to. Not really, because going to in English is a future tense, but Te-Iku and Te-Kuru aren't tenses. No, they're not tenses. They are auxiliaries. 英語は中1の5月で、つまずきました。へえ。英語はつまずいた。Wait, am I understanding that correctly? Now I'm confused. Wait, where is my dictionary? Wait a minute. It was this here. Now it's gone. Wait, what? Where's my dictionary? What the frick? So strange. He means going somewhere. I mean, all from beginning. What do you mean, Volare? I don't understand what you're saying. So, first of all, we need to talk about these two verbs. What are they? Why are they here? Are they here to stay? Spoiler, yes. 授業に、ついていなくなりました。こういう意味です。ああ、そうですか。へえ。いや、まあね、英語は自分で勉強した方がいいと思いますね。でも、なんか、すっごい努力が必要っす。So, first of all, we need to talk about Iku and Kuru. And I will talk about just Iku and Kuru first. Which is, first of all, let's look at, I'll just draw them in kanji so you can just see the kanji as well. So first we have Iku, which is... Okay, so Iku is to go. We all know this, okay? It's not hard. We all should know that Iku is to go. However, one thing you may not know is that to go and to come in Japanese are actually a little bit different in Japanese than they are in English. So that's what I want to talk about first, because it's going to be really, really important. So the other one is Kuru, which, if I can draw it nicely, will hopefully... wait. Look something like this. Yeah, that's not bad. Kuru! ここの放送を聞いて、今年中に TOEIC を満点狙います。おー、頑張りましょう。Kuru, which is to come. To comb one's hair. Now, to go and to come seem pretty simple. You've been like, why are you telling us this? This is really easy. I know how this works. But something a lot of people don't know is that the verbs iku and kuru in Japanese are always strictly relative to the perspective of the speaker. Okay? Which is not the same as in English. What I mean by that is, if this is your perspective, if this is you, okay? This is you. And you're speaking, okay? Then only things that are coming this way, only things that are moving in this direction are kuru, okay, basically. And only things that are moving the other direction are iku. Okay? So you can only say, I go and he comes. Not really, it depends, right? So it's always, the important part is that it's always relative to your position. So if you're here, right? And then it depends on sort of what you're saying, sort of like from where to where. So these are verbs of movements. I don't see the difference. So I'll tell you the difference in a second. It's really easy with an example sentence. So let's look at an example sentence. So you can't say I come. You can say that, but I'll show you what I mean, okay? I'll show you what I mean. The best way of illustrating this is always using an example sentence. And I tend to use the same one too, because it just works so well. So that's what we'll do, okay? So we will look at, this is like 80 here. Okay, so we will look at 待ってくる、持ってくる、yeah. 英語の先生より発音いいね。英語の先生、ありがとうございます。英語の発音は少しくらい自信ありますので。So, let's say you have an exchange. I'll write it down in English, okay? So you have a person A and you have a person B. Are you coming to my party? B. Okay? Yes. I'll come. Okay, that's a perfectly fine thing to say in English, okay? So, we use the verb to come, right? So you think like, okay, how do I say this in Japanese? Okay? So how would you say this in Japanese? Well, you probably think that it would use kuru, right? But it's not quite true. It's not quite true. So I will show you now. Remember this, right? Are you coming to my party? Yes, I'll come. Okay, let's do the same exchange in Japanese. So I will delete what A and B are saying and just type in the Japanese. So in Japanese, what we'll actually end up with is, so party に来ますか? I can't type apparently. 来ますか? Party に来ますか? Will you come to my party? B is supposed to say 行きます. Why 行きます? Right? Can't you say 来ます? That's the difference, okay? You can't say 来ます because it makes no sense. Because 来ます are movements that happen. 私はパリピです。それは何より。You can't say 来ます because 来ます would imply a movement that happens in your direction. But that's not in your direction. So let's think about who's saying what. Person A is saying, will you come to my party? Why are they saying 来ます? Because the party is happening at their place, right? So, relative from their position, their place, right, is something that other people come to. They are already at their place. So, by the way, you don't have to be at home to say this, but it's more like a matter of that your house is basically in proximity to you. No matter where you are, your house is kind of closer to you than it is to other people. Not like physical location, but sort of in terms of like metaphorical location, right? Like your place. So, パーティーに来ますか? Will you come to my party? If you answer, you should answer with 行きます because 行く is a motion that happens from where you are now to where you will be by like towards someone else. Feels like makes more sense to me. Yeah, it actually is quite logical. So just keep this example in mind. I think this example illustrates it quite nicely. Keep in mind that in Japanese, to go and to come are very strictly dependent on your frame of reference, like on the speaker's position. That's why everyone follow on Twitter and join the Discord. True. Hey, LFX. So that's that. It's just, I think it's just social. Yeah, there you go. This example kind of works like that. So in Japanese, generally, 行く is relative to the speaker, movements that happen closer to the speaker. They're far away and they're coming closer. This can be in space or in time as well. And that will be important later. And kuru is generally, I said the wrong thing. Iku is generally things that move away from where you are now. And kuru is generally things that move toward where you are now, relative speaking. What if you're not a party in movement at all? Hey B, did C come to your party? You can, when you ask someone, you can kind of ask them from their perspective, I would say. So you could say like, A さんのパーティーに何人来ましたか? Or 何人行きましたか? I think you could probably say both, but I think it would make sense with kuru because you could change the perspective to like A-san when you speak. どうでしょうね? I would say that you could change it. If they say iku, they're sus. Sus. Yeah, in that case, you can sort of shift the perspective. Because you're asking from someone else's perspective. We had something similar with asking someone else about the, like, you remember when we had, like, asking questions about, like, Thai form and stuff like that, where it's kind of okay. 多分行くは実際には行かないという意味です。行くは実際には行かない。Could you say come, could you say come when you're at the person's location before it's happening? I mean, you, not really. I mean, you, maybe, it's a bit, the thing is, right, what matters isn't really the physical distance. What matters is more the metaphorical distance. Kimasu. Yeah, it's more about the metaphorical, like, the distance in, like, how familiar an environment is relative to someone. So, that's why today, we're gonna talk about using these, もういるでしょ? Yeah. We're gonna use いる, we're gonna use 来る and 行く as auxiliary verbs. Remember, okay? Quick recap. Auxiliary verbs. Oops. I can't write. So aux verbs. Aux verbs are like modifying verbs, okay? Modifying. Change. They change mood or tense, etc. Okay? So auxiliary verbs are always like verbs that get attached and they change something about the other verb. So they change like tenses and moods and all kinds of stuff. Okay, that's what auxiliaries do. They're extra bits. They're there to change the pre-existing verb. Tricky topic. I could definitely use a lesson on it. Yeah. So, you can actually use iku and kuru themselves as auxiliary verbs. You didn't miss much. We just introduced iku and kuru and how they're slightly different from English. Basically that. Now, general rule of thumb is, so rule of thumb, okay, I've introduced this rule a few times. It's always good to mention it. Rule of thumb. No kanji with aux verbs, okay? That's like a rule of thumb. That's not, it's not like a fixed rule. You can use kanji when you're using verbs as auxiliaries, but it's generally the convention that you don't. Especially so that you can distinguish between auxiliary usage and just normal conjunctive usage. What I mean by that is the te form, right, is conjunctive. It adds two verbs together, but sometimes the bond is stronger and sometimes the bond isn't as strong. So sometimes it just means verb 1 and then verb 2, but sometimes they also fuse kind of together. To give you an example is that, even with Mincho font, to give you an example with Te-Iku for like progressive tense, right? There the bond is pretty strong. Like we have this whole like predefined tense that uses that. But theoretically also you could also just like interpret it Te-Iku as like the first verb and then iru, which also like it's kind of a blurred line, but sometimes we want to distinguish quite well. So the rule of thumb is if verbs are used as auxiliaries, they generally will not use kanji. That's just sort of a thing that happens. It's not a fixed rule and you might still see it. That's generally kind of like omoidasu. Yeah, that's true. So maybe I should say, I'm gonna add to this sort of like, especially, okay? This kind of goes especially ones that attach to te form, okay? My handwriting isn't great, but that's sort of the addendum here. Especially ones that attach to te form. If you have ones that actually, yeah, I would say this rule mostly applies to te form. If you have verbs that attach to some stem form, especially like must stem, that's generally not the case anymore. But with te form verbs, it's especially true that generally kanji will not be used. But with other verbs, you're right. So like dasu would be a good example, because dasu often attaches to the must stem of other verbs to be auxiliary, and yet it often, most of the time, will still use kanji. So I will say with te form, yeah. Hen ni nari kanenai ne. Yeah. It's just a preferred way of writing is the wrong way to do it. It's just a preferred way of writing. It's not wrong either way, but it's less confusing. Because you can use some verbs as auxiliaries, and also as normal verbs added to the te form. Like both usages kind of exist or coexist. They exist in this blurred like space. They're kind of the same, but kind of not. So yeah. So let's actually then look at Te-Iku and Te-Kuru. As I always do and have been for quite a while now, I will just assume that you know what the te form is. If you don't know what the te form is, watch my video on it. Or watch any video on it. You need to know the te form. It's just very important. It's integral. It's an integral part of conjugating verbs, is understanding and knowing the te form. So if you don't know it, please learn the te form. It's so important. So, iku and kuru both attach to te form. So basically, つまりどういうことだってばよ。だってばよ。まあ今説明してるんですよ。はい、聞いてくださいね。ちゃんと。So, if we use these as auxiliaries, they will attach to some verb. Now, what does that mean? It generally means that if we have some verb, okay, I'm gonna shorten this to verb te. Okay, verb te form. This is any verb in the te form. We will have iku. And any verb, I'll leave some space actually. Any verb in te form, te, kuru. Okay. Now, I mentioned this a little bit during the giving and receiving episode, but don't confuse te-kuru with te-kureru, okay? So that's really important. These are not at all the same. They look similar, but please don't confuse these. Kureru is a completely different verb, okay? So these have nothing to do with each other. Okay, it's not the same. Te-kureru and te-kuru is very different. Even though they look similar and they sound kind of similar, but there's like an extra re in there, so don't forget. Okay, so basically this usage is sort of when a action happens towards you. Stop. Just you missed everything, Valar. Everything. Unbelievable. You missed everything. To best illustrate this, I'll just draw a picture. So generally, a verb te-iku means any action that happens away from you, okay? Any action that kind of happens away from you, alright? And te-kuru is any action that happens towards you, or towards your location, or also towards your time. And that's the big thing, is that these verbs work in time and space, which sounds really weird, but it's true. It sounds a little bit sci-fi, but really what I mean by that is as you move from the now into the future, that is also considered a movement away from where you are now. And as you move from the past to where you are now, that is also considered, so basically they're movement vector, action vectors, kinda, yeah. And as you move from the past to where you are now, that is considered a movement towards you. You consider your location in space and time, and then act, or then you describe the stuff like grammatically relative to that space-time position. It sounds really like when I speak like that, it makes me sound like I'm talking about sci-fi stuff or like special relativity and stuff like that. But really, think about it like tokoro. If you know how the word tokoro works, it turns out that tokoro is actually also used for physical and temporal locations. Or spatial, I should say. Spatial and temporal location. So you say, like, kono tokoro, blah blah blah. Like, kono tokoro, nani 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 blah blah blah. Doesn't matter, right? But then you can say, like, this place. So it's like a location in space. But you also use tokoro for times. So, like, taberu tokoro datta. I was about to eat. That's a time statement. So, in many ways, this is similar. It's literally a description of special relativity. Yeah, basically. You can actually, I did this once on a stream, but you can theoretically describe this on a, I forgot what they're called, but you can draw a space-time graph with one axis being time and one axis being space, and you could describe this sort of relationship on that graph if you wanted to, which is something you do in special relativity. And I would assume general, but I've never, yeah, Minkowski, yeah, you could use a, yeah, Minkowski, right, Minkowski, you could use that to describe how Te-Iku and Te-Kuru work. It's a bit overkill though. Just imagine any movement towards or away from you on that Minkowski diagram, if you know what that is, right? That's kind of how it works. All right, like a video, you walk forward in time. Yes, exactly. So now the best way of sort of talking about these is for the rest of the lesson, we're just gonna like make examples and really analyze what's happening. So again, Te-Iku these are generally actions that happen away from you. Don't curve the arrows or it gets weird. Yeah, true. And Te-Kuru are actions that happen towards you, relatively speaking. So, let's take a look. I will make space and then we'll just type some sentences, okay? So let's make an example with let's make an example that's very common, and actually someone even used it in chat earlier. But let's use the example with motte-kuru, okay? Motte-kuru. Motte-kuru is so common that it's basically already its own word. It has its own dictionary entry as well. So if we use, I can't write. Wait. So motte-kuru. Motte. This is a mo. Motte-kuru. So you've maybe already used this. You maybe already used this expression. Again, it's so common that it literally does have its own dictionary entry, and I will show you said entry. Let me just switch this theme again. There we go. I hope this will work first time. Nope, it doesn't. For some reason, this has stopped working the first time. I don't know why. There we go. Kohi motte-kuru. Yes, exactly. So, motte-kuru, so common that if I type it in here, it will literally show up. Because it means to bring. But why does it mean to bring, okay? To fetch, to get. I thought it said jittekuru. No. Mottekoi. Why does this mean to bring? Let's actually look at it. So, motsu, first of all, we need to know what motsu means, right? So, motsu means to hold in one's hand, to possess, to have, to own. Okay? So, what would that mean if, right? What would that mean if we had the action to hold in your hand and it happens towards where we are now, right? Well, you could think of it as like, say you're here now, okay? I can't. This is where you are now, okay? And you're talking about an action that you're going to do, which will involve going somewhere, taking something in your hand, okay? I'll draw a little stick figure with something in its hand. Let's see, like a cup of coffee, okay? So you're holding something, motteiru, you're holding it now, and then you're coming back to where you were, but now you have it here. That's kind of the thought behind it, is that now you're here. Wait, that's not how I did it. It's the other way around there. Now you're here. So this action here, that's the motte-kuru part. You hold and you come back to where you were. Okay? That's why you say kuru in the first place, because you plan to come back to where you are now. Else you wouldn't use motte-kuru. You wouldn't use motte-kuru if you didn't plan to come back to where you are right now. That's why it means to get something, to bring something here. Right? It happens back. It's an action that will happen. You're going somewhere, you're grabbing something, and you're bringing it back to where you are now. So it's an action that happens, relatively speaking, to where you are now. It will come back to here. Right? And obviously then, some backstory, or am I wrong? Not that I know of, no. Motte-kuru, so this just means to bring. And then we can actually also turn this situation on its head and use the verb motte-iku, right? Motte-iku. So what happens if we just use iku instead? It's fairly straightforward. It just kind of turns into the opposite. Motte-iku means that you're gonna take something away. Motte-iku usually just means that you're taking something and you're leaving. It's even harder for me when language doesn't have to distinguish between bring and fetch. I don't know what the difference between bring and fetch would be. Fetch me something, bring me something. Isn't that the same? So with Te-Iku, it would be a movement away from where you are now. Okay? And I will now show you the you go and come back. Oh, really? Oh. But if you say bring some, well, I guess, oh yeah, you're right. So in English, to bring something could also mean bring it somewhere else. But that's in yeah, that's actually a good, that's actually a good comparison. So in English, if you said like, bring this to your mom, you wouldn't say motte-kuru. You can't say motte-kuru. It would be motte-iku, which means to take it somewhere else. Okay? So if you say like, bring this to your mom over there, it would be motte-ite. Like, it would be take this and go somewhere else where you are not right now, right? You couldn't say motte-kite, that would mean like you're coming back here. That's not what you're doing, right? So there's this distinction. Yeah, that's actually a good, that brings up a good point. So that's then again this difference in how we think about to go and to come. Grab and come back versus grab and go. Yeah, basically, right? So, I would say the most common usage, and I'm almost sure that all of you have used this phrase of this, is ittekimasu. I mean, like if you've been on like Discord or if you've been to Japan, right? And you say like, oh, I'm gonna leave and I'll come back. Ittekimasu. That's exactly what it is iku, to go, but then kuru, to imply that, you know, the action is also gonna happen, like, I'm gonna come back here where I am right now, right? So this ittekuru, ittekimasu, is kind of the same thing. So saying, I will actually use kanji here, because the first verb here can use kanji, that's fine. Wait, the top line is shorter than the bottom line. Itte, and then you have, kimasu. Ittekimasu, itterashai. Yeah, and itterashai, basically it's the same because rasharu is also kuru, but polite. So rasharu, I can show you that as well. That's where itterashai comes from, rasharu, which means, okay, to be going, on or after form, after a verb abbreviation, to be doing, rasharu. I guess irasharu I should look up. It's actually like itte irashai would be like the full version, I guess, but irasharu, yeah, to come. There you go. Now we found it. Either to come, to go, or to be somewhere. So like that's the problem with these keigo verbs, is that sometimes they mean multiple things. So like whereas rasharu can mean, or irasharu can mean to be, it can also mean to come or to go. It gets a bit confusing with the keigo verbs. The same actually goes for mairu. Mairu can also mean a bunch of things. It can mean to come, to go, to call in Kenjougo, right? So that's actually kind of a common theme, is that some of these can mean quite different things. But yeah, that's just the issue of keigo, really. How immediate does the kimasu have to be for me to not be lying? I don't think there's like a limit. Ittekimasu just implies a intention of coming back. Maybe you won't, but that's not really your fault. It's more about the intention. When are you gonna upload this to YouTube? Hopefully soon-ish. I'm really trying to catch up, but I've been bad at it, so I've only been uploading like 1 or 2 videos a week. I'm gonna try and catch up soon. So we're like, I think we're like 10 episodes behind. Not quite. No, not quite. We're like 7 episodes behind. So if everything goes well, I'll probably be caught up in like 2 weeks. So this should be on YouTube in like 2 weeks if I'm not a bad human being. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we're not like ultra behind, and it will be on the Twitch channel as well for like a month. So yeah. So ittekimasu basically means like I'm going and I'm coming back, and I'm coming back here. That's kind of the implication, right? So let's do some more examples. Dominic, hey, how are you doing? Hey, Riggs, thanks for the sub. I appreciate that. Welcome. Sabu arigatou gozaimasu. Yo. Ba-ba-bum. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Welcome. Tadaima okaeri nasai. Yes. Let's use some more temporal examples. Some more examples involving time, okay? Time. And I will actually grab the text tool for that, because then I can write a bit more easily. So we'll do some examples that involve time, which will look as follows. Let's say you want to make a statement about that you've been eating a lot of fast food. Okay? So in Japanese, a cool thing you can do is you can make that statement, and you can sort of say, from the past until now, until the now that I'm here right now, I've been doing an action. And we can use Te-Kuru for that. So I'm leaving a stream for today, and I don't know, it's natural expect the Te-Kuru. It depends. It's like, when you say like ittekuru, I would assume that you plan to come back in a reasonable amount of time. It's just depending on the context, what is reasonable would change. If you say during my stream, ittekimasu, I would expect you to be back during the same stream, kind of. Else you would probably like state a reason, or like state more than just that. But again, what is reasonable changes depending on the context. But I mean, that's kind of how English works as well. Ayafumi-san, konnichiwa. So here we can make a statement about our eating habits. It's like, I'm going for a while. Yeah, it's like, I'm going and then I'll come back. It's kind of like saying be right back, right? So be right back also means different things. I can say be right back if I leave in the morning to go to work and I will be gone for the whole day, right? If it's if people know that I'm going to work, it's a much longer time frame. Whereas if I say it on Discord, people don't expect me to be gone for like 6 hours. But it's relative. It depends. It depends on the situation. Doing that, I'm going, but I plan to come back. Yeah, I plan to come back in like a reasonable amount of time, depending on the situation. 6 hours later, yeah. So we can use Te-Kuru, like I said, we can use Te-Kuru for when something moves towards us in time. So when we speak from the past into the present as like a habitual thing or like a thing that we've been doing a lot over time, this Te-Kuru can also be applied. So we can say something like baga shika バーガーしか食べてこなかった。食べてこなかった。So 食べてくる、来ない、食べてこない、来なかった。So basically, that's like a way of saying like, I've only been eating burgers until now. バーガーしか食べてこなかった。Or, yeah, 食べてしか食べてこなかった、right? So you can say like, this is 食べてくる, which means the action happens towards you. Now, eating isn't really an action that will happen towards you in location much. That doesn't really make sense. If someone is eating towards you, that I don't know what I would make of that. Maybe in the Langoliers, so what was that Steven Spielberg, that Stephen King book called? Anyways, Pac-Man, yeah. But here the implication is more in time. So basically it's like saying like, I've been eating nothing but burgers. This like I've been eating until now, right? From the past into the present, I've kind of just been eating burgers. I've been eating nothing but burgers all this time, right? So we can imply this sort of eats at you. We can imply this sort of change over time, this sort of action over time. So that's kind of how it goes, right? But also we can do the opposite. We can speak about what we will do. Do people say this often? How about 最近バーガーしか食べてない? Yeah, so I would say this, like, using Te-Kuru implies a much longer period of time. So, it really implies this, like, span of time. Whereas, 最近食べてない、バーガーしか食べてない, I feel like sounds a little bit more short time. Ah, しか? Okay, so, しかない is actually, let me show you. I'll just write this down for you so you can know. Okay. So, when you use... Well, しか plus a negative, right? しかない means nothing but. Yeah, only, nothing but, right? So しかない. Always with a negative verb. You can basically not use しか with a positive verb. It would always be wrong. It's almost exclusively used with negative verbs. So again, about that question with sailors. So I would say, how long would you expect in this example? Years? It sounds very long, but it depends. It really does depend on the context. So this could be used for like maybe a few weeks. I would say like a significant amount of time. But once again, what is significant changes depending on what you're talking about. When you're talking about your eating habits with like tekita or Te-Kuru, I would assume a significant amount of time, like maybe a few months, or like a significant change in your eating habits. Like I would, if I hear the バーガーしか食べてこなかった, I almost, it sounds like for a long time I've been eating nothing but burgers. Whereas 最近バーガーしか食べてない, it sounds like maybe like for a week or so, or 2 weeks, or maybe a few weeks. Whereas this sounds quite a lot longer. But again, this depends on what you're saying. If you say like, I haven't been sleeping, I wouldn't assume like weeks. I would assume maybe days, right? Like, yeah. This doesn't imply a habit has changed as you ate something. I didn't want to rib in the guide to rate, never mind. Well, there you go. Shika means deer is not true. No deers. Well, you would use inai, but yeah. Shikanai yo. 野菜も食べろ. Yeah, 確かにね. All right, so let's do an example that uses iku as well. So let's do that. Does it imply the habit has changed? That is, you ate something different today. Not necessarily, no. This can just be a statement that has been true in the past and up until now. Except for burgers, nothing came for me to eat. Yes. Well, nothing came to eat me. So, バーガーのハンバーグの中に、レタスとか玉ねぎ入ってるよ。確か。In Japan, actually, when you say hamburger or hamburger, it could also just be the meat only, because that's very popular, is just to have the meat only, and then some other stuff as side dishes. So yeah. Another example, when we want to use Te-Iku to imply a temporal thing, we can use like another thing. Could you make a sentence but not negative to understand it better? Oh yeah, okay, let's try and do something else. One that I use a lot is so you could say something like 長年日本語を勉強してきた。What's the difference between shika and dake in the last example? Shika generally tends to be a more pessimistic thing. Like when you say shikanai is like saying, that's it, I have nothing but that. Whereas if you say dake is, I have only that, but not necessarily in a bad way. So people often say, like, with money, you'd say like, 5円しかない. I only, or 500円しかない. I only have 500 yen. So you're sort of like thinking negatively of the fact, but yeah. And then grammatically speaking, you have to use a negative verb with shika, and with positive verbs, with dake, you can use positives. So one that I say a lot, actually, is this phrase here. Like, naganen just means long years, many years. But you can also leave this part out. I often say it without the naganen as well. Or you say like, 10年間日本語勉強してきた. So the thing that this really helps emphasize is the sort of journey, okay? The sort of time you spent. It's like this continuous thing that has been going on over the time. Like that, it really helps with that kind of thing, that kind of nuance or that kind of emphasis. Like, it's been this continued thing that has been going on. So I'll just furiganize as much as I can. Oh gosh, this is going to be, I have no space. 長年 Nihongo, you know, okay? And then Benkyo, okay? I'm just gonna assume you know Nihongo. If you don't, then, well, sucks, doesn't it? Benkyo してきた. So basically, I've been studying JP for many years. That's not how you spell year. Okay, excuse my handwriting. So, what do I do if I want to say I scold nobody but elders? Depends on how you feel about it. Yeah, this is, I think this is a good example, because the difference in saying like, 長年日本語を勉強しています or 日本語を勉強している or 勉強していた. Well, first of all, past tense していた would imply that you're not actually studying anymore. Whereas 勉強してきた does still imply that you might still be doing it. Now, it actually doesn't imply either way. 勉強してきた could mean all it says is it has happened up until this moment. It's not saying if it's going to continue or not, right? Whereas if we say like 勉強しています definitely means you're still going to do it, or it's still happening. And していました or していた past tense would imply that it's done. Whereas this doesn't imply either way. It just says that it has happened until now. なんかね、日本語を勉強してきた. So, 老人しか怒らない Maybe 叱る means to like scold someone, right? 叱らない 日本語 So with this example, I hope it makes a lot of sense. It's this 勉強してきた to emphasize all this time you've spent coming here. Like, I've been studying to get to this moment here. Or I've been studying all the time until we've arrived at the now. Kind of like that. So let's make a few examples with iku as well. And then we can maybe make some more with like movement as well. So What would be another one? Would be something like, excuse me. Oh, let me also get rid of, not the G. The G. The OG. Alright. Kind of makes sense, but it's rather convoluted from an English perspective. Yeah, so that's the real problem is that these things just kind of don't exist in English. Like the cool thing about like this form, what I think is that something like Te-Kuru is so cool, but there's no similar thing in English, where in English we can't just add an auxiliary to imply our intention of returning after we finished an action, but in Japanese we can. I can theoretically add Te-Kuru to anything to imply that after I finished whatever I'm doing, that I plan to come back to here in a way, right? So I can say like, ちょっと水を飲んでくる. I'm gonna go drink some water and then I'm gonna come back here. And in English, I have to use quite a lot of words to make that work. But in Japanese, I can just slap Te-Kuru at the back of it and it kind of works out. So it's really nice. It's a really interesting system. Iku and Kuru unnecessary. It's a very agile expression. Yeah. It's like, yeah, and you think like maybe you feel like it's a little unnecessary at first because from your perspective, you've never really had to think like that because English doesn't have it. So when a language doesn't have a certain thing and another language does, at first you're often left thinking, but why? Because from your perspective, well, you've lived all your life without that. So it's not like it's missing, right? But it's just a different approach. It's a different approach of how you can phrase certain things, right? All right. So, let's make another example with Te-Iku. Adjective declination, yes, basically. Those are even worse. So, another example that we can do with Te-Iku is sort of talking about what we will do going into the future. Say we have made up our mind to eat more vegetables, because we have that kind of topic, right, with eating. So we've made up our mind to eat more vegetables, and we're like, from now on, I'm going to eat lots of vegetables. Well, a good way of saying that would be with tabete iku, because tabete iku would be like, well, you know, moving into the future. Now, tabete iku could theoretically mean two things. It could mean that you're going somewhere to eat something, but it can also mean that you're, from now until the future, you're gonna do this action, right? So here it depends a little bit on the context. Iko, which one specifically? The one with eating vegetables? You could also say iko if you want to use the nuance of the volitional. Sort of like, let's do that, or I should do that, kind of like that. But that's just, you can always kind of slap things together. You're going to try. Yeah, if you're like trying to hype yourself up or saying like, well, let's do that from now on, then yeah, you can use iko as well. So you could say something like, これから、野菜をたくさん食べていく. I ran out of space. これから. So, or without iko, it sounds more determined. Yeah, well, this sounds definitely like you've made up your mind, right? これから野菜をたくさん食べていく. Definitely having a harder time using Te-Iku on the spot. I feel like there's a couple of expressions that do the job. Yeah. It sort of depends, but here, これから野菜をたくさん食べていく. Basically, it sounds like, it sounds like you've made up your mind that, like, from now on, これから means from now on, 野菜 is vegetables, and then たくさん means lots. So, from now on, from now on and into the future, I'm gonna eat lots of vegetables, basically. And of course, you can always say, like, ikimasu instead. Remember, with politeness, or generally conjugation in Japanese, what conjugates is generally the very last verb in the chain. So if you have a chain of like 2 or 3 verbs where the verb 2 and 3 are maybe auxiliary, right? And you want to conjugate further, you just conjugate the last verb. That's just a general thing. That's why with tabete iku, if we wanted to change this in any way, we would leave the tabete alone. That part is now set in stone. As long as we have the iku after it, we focus on the last verb to keep conjugating. We can make this a progressive tense if we would do like, instead of iku, we could use itteru or something like that. The predicate verb of the sentence. Yeah, basically, yeah. Or if we wanted to make this a negative, we would like ikanai or something like that, or if we wanted to make it a polite ikimasu, etc., etc. So with conjugation always focus on the last verb in the chain, basically. If you have like change like these words linked up as auxiliaries. Predicate. Predicate is the part of the sentence that contains the verb or the verb-like object. The reason why predicate sort of stands over it, because predicate also would include things like e-adjectives and copulas and stuff like that. It's just a bit of a broader term. I don't know the textbook definition of what a predicate is, but it's the part of the sentence that contains the verb or the functioning verb of the sentence, so to speak. Maybe someone can write the exact definition and how it's different from just saying verb. Theoretically, I think what the difference is that, hey Sistko, how are you doing? Theoretically, what I think the difference is that a verb is a part of speech, so it helps us differentiate what different words are, whereas a predicate is a function of a verb, of a word, right? Just like a noun is a part of speech, but a subject is a function that a noun can have, if that makes sense. He said predicate verb. Yeah, I think with predicate verb, it would mean that the verb in the sentence that is actually used as the predicate, and not like in a subordinate clause or something like that. It kind of depends. I know the word, I just fail at remembering the kanji, I guess. Which one? Yasai, yeah. Sentence that I heard from videos I watched now is making more sense. Yeah. Okay. So this would be a usage of iku. Let's maybe do one more that is more like in location. Okay. Oh gosh, what was that? Not gonna lie. I forgot how to read this. It's like not gonna lie. Is it nise? What? Wait. Nise? Where? Te-Iku. Are you trying? I don't think that's a verb. Uso tsuku? You would say like uso tsuku, right? Instead, because lying is uso tsuku, to tell a lie. But that one I don't think that's either. I'm blind. Itsuwaru. Oh, it's itsuwaru. But then why do you have ku? You have like itsuwaru kute ikanai. Dictionaries are not reliable anymore. I mean, itsuwaru works, but that's ru and not kute. I don't know where you end up with kute there. Itsuwaru. Itsuwaru works, but that's ru. So itsuwatte, not itsuwakute. Yeah, nise. Well, that would be nise, but itsuwaru. So itsuwaru would. Let me write it down for you as well. Just real quick. Te form, right? Never heard anyone say this. Itsuwaru is not very common. Hatsukanai. Watsukanai. Ku wa tsukanai. So. No ku. If you wanted to really use itsuwaru, you would say damasu. Well, damasu means to trick someone. It's different from lying. You can theoretically trick someone by telling them the truth as well. I mean, it's kind of hard, but theoretically you could, right? But itsuwari, yeah, itsuwari is more common. Itsuwari no nai shinjitsu, like the truth without any lies or fabrications. Itsuwari is more like to fake something, to say something like, yeah. That's what the definition said, to trick. Oh, I guess like itsuwaru is more like to falsify, to change something. I guess you could say to trick, but yeah. Nisegi itsuwaru nise. Yeah, anyway, so with itsuwaru, right? You would have itsuwaru like this. The te form would mean this is a godan ru verb. So we would change to itsuwa. This would stay the same. Sorry, not itsuware. Itsuwatte. Okay? So same conjugation as like shiru. Shiru turns into shite. Right? So same conjugation. But no ku. Ku is actually actually kute is only really something you have with nai, right? Like nai, for example, would actually turn into nakute. Nakute. Or e-adjectives, I guess, generally. It was a typo. Windows IME is tricky. Alright. Yeah, that made it really hard to tell. That's why I got so confused. Alright. Okay, sorry, we got kind of off topic there. I hope you don't mind too much. Alright, nisemono. Yeah, nisemono is a fake, something that is not the real thing. It's fake, it's false, it's a forgery. It's a scheme, a scam, a sham. Actually, there's scam and sham, but they're different things, aren't they? Let me just drink some coffee, and then we'll do like 1 or 2 last examples, and then I think we should be good. Yeah, like in Nisemonogatari. Like here. See? Nisemonogatari. That feeling when I have the props ready, huh? Got him. Oop. An arm's length away. Okay, stream lagging just for me. This time it should be just for you, because I have not dropped any frames in the last few hours. Or in the last hour. So I hope that it's just for you, even though that sounds mean, but it's, yeah. Okay, let's do some more, let's do like a few more examples. Maybe this time more with like locational. For example, oh, how about something very simple? We could say, ここまで yeah, まで in kanji. ここまで走ってきました. So this is very simple. 来ました. 走ってきましたよ. That's something we might say, right? Oh, isn't that かたどる? かたどるって? I thought, isn't it かたどる? Or something like that, right? To take the shape off, or かたどるって偽物をかたどる. Yeah, I was right. 作るという意味もあるの。で、偽物を作る、かたどる。I'm not sure, maybe. ないよね。So, ここまで走ってきましたよ. This is a fairly simple sentence to analyze. Here, it's once again more used as a locational thing. So basically, we are just talking about a movement that has happened, relatively speaking, towards where we are now. So like, if you had like a kid, you know, and I don't know, they're like, this is their house, and this is their school. I've realized that I always draw schools like this now. This is a school, okay? If ever you're wondering, that's a school. This is a school, okay? If they're like here, and they came from home, and they're like, ここまで走ってきましたよ. Basically needs a clock. Ah, true. There you go. It's a clock. ここまで走ってきましたよ. 走る means, I will just freeganize this. 走って because means, 走る means to run. So when a case says like, ここまで走ってきましたよ, just means I ran all the way here. So the action of running started somewhere and it has happened all the way until the point where you are now. Okay, this is fairly straightforward. This is like a very straightforward usage of something like Te-Kuru. Okay, 走ってきました. I ran all the way here. Alright, makes sense, right? Not too bad. And in the same way, we can also say, let's do one more with Iku. So another good example of Iku is when things kind of go away from you. So that could mean they disappear out of view, or they go away, they're not here anymore. So a good one that you see somewhat often would maybe be with 消える. 偽物を作るは贋作かな? 贋作する, maybe, yeah. I think 贋作 means like literally to create a forgery of something, right? 贋作する. Anyways, a good thing to use Te-Iku with is when something kind of disappears and you can't see it anymore, it's gone. It has left from where it was. You don't know where it went, but it has disappeared. So you can say something like this gradual action that happens like in the direction away from you. Why would going to school be iku and not kuru? The one that I use here is kuru. 走ってきました. That is kuru. That's 来ます is kuru. お金が消えていく. That's a good one, yeah. Going to school can be iku or kuru. It kind of depends. When the teacher is asking, it will always be kuru. But when the kid is going to school from home, it will always be iku. Right? But here it's kuru. 走ってきました. I've ran all the way here. It's always like relative to the person, basically. So, oh, I misread that. Alright, cool. お金. So we can do one with money, right? お金が Wait, お金がだんだん消えていくのよ. So, here we are implying this sort of gradual progression away from us. So this Te-Iku means like it's just disappearing somewhere away from me. Like I don't know where it's going, but I don't know where my money is. Like my money is just going away from me. It's disappearing away from me. Kinketsu? Yeah, like lacking money. So here it's like if you wanted to imagine it sort of physically, imagine you're here. Jesus, can I maybe eventually get my brush tool back, please, Photoshop? Hello? Yes, there we go. Imagine you're kind of here, right? And you have your money, but it's just kind of going away. You don't know, like you have no idea what's going on, but your money is just kieteiku. It's like dandan kieteiku no yo, and dandan means gradually. So お金がだんだん消えていくのよ is like, man, my money just keeps kind of gradually disappearing off to somewhere I don't know. 懐が懐かしくなってきた. Yeah. That's another good one. Oh man, there's so many good examples with this. This なってくる. So when you have a adjective with 懐かしくなる, which means to 寂しく not 懐かしく. This is my fault. 寂しくなる. Like 寂しくなる means to become lonely. So it changes from being not lonely to being lonely. And this kita really emphasizing this motion, this progression towards the state that you're in right now. So again, maybe to sum it up all, is Te-Iku, Te-Kuru helps with emphasizing graduality of actions and directionality at the same time. Depending on if we choose Iku and Kuru, we can sort of emphasize the direction of it, whether it happens toward us or away from us. And in general, using Te-Iku and Te-Kuru is a great way of emphasizing a gradual thing, something that's happened over time or over space. Te-Iku is kind of like the Uchisoto thing physically going, yeah, it's basically the same. You can see how it all ties together. Like these concepts all are similar. A bit of a longer question. Sure, go ahead. Maybe we'll just answer the question. Just do that. If you have any questions, then ask me now. Oh, you can also say something like, yeah, just in general, like and say like 嬉しくなってきた. I'm now happy. 嬉しくなってきた. 嬉しくなる to become happy. 嬉しくなってきた means like, I wasn't happy, but now I've turned happy. And at the point I'm now happy. I wasn't, but it's happened over time or over space, whatever, but now I'm happy. 嬉しくなってきた or 大きくなってきた. You became big. Like you weren't, but now you're here and you're big and stuff like that. 持っていく means to take, and 持ってくる means to bring. Yeah, basically, right? One thing happens away from where you are and one thing happens toward where you are. Tangible space, more like concept idea of a thing. Yeah. But neither is Uchi and Soto, right? Uchi and Soto also aren't physical locations. They are concepts. It's more about conceptual closeness to one. I'm not processing things well right now, but would you translate this? お金がだんだん消えていく again. So again, this Te-Iku it happens away from you. So when you say だんだん消えていく, gradually it just disappears somewhere away from me. Like it's basically you're saying, well, I know it's not here anymore, so it must have gone somewhere else. And then we use the nuance of kieru, which means to disappear. So kind of like you can translate it to it disappears off to somewhere that I don't know. It's just gone. It disappeared away from me. Like it's not here anymore. It's gone away. It's disappeared off to God knows where. Specifically with kieru, which does mean to disappear, right? But again, what Iku really helps us with is to emphasize the sentiment of it leaving us, going away from us. My money's just poof, basically. Yeah, or my money just keeps disappearing. My money just keeps going off somewhere and I don't know why. Like, 消えていくのよ, and then the no yo is just for emphasis. Like, hey man, my money just keeps disappearing away from me. I don't know. That example, 寂しくなってくる is hard because of how unnecessary kuru feels. I don't think to add it. Yeah, it's often kuru can also just be like a emphasis kind of thing. So that you really want to emphasize the change, like the change over time or the change over the location that has happened. I think Wasif's probably still typing his question, if I'm thinking right. だんだん消えるはお金にはあまり使わない表現かな. Yeah, maybe not. かもね. だんだん、どうでしょう、お金がどうなるなんか、お金がなくなるみたいな。だんだんなくなっていく。or something like that. どうでしょう、何がいい？ What would be better? 汚れがだんだん消える。Yeah, I guess you could say like the stain, the dirt is going away. But iku and kuru and going and coming through time. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that often gets left out. Okay, wait. I wanna look at this. 記憶がだんだん消えていく. Yeah, that's another good one that Ayofumi just mentioned. Maybe I can also write that down before I look into what Wasif said. So, right? 記憶がだんだん消えていく. My memories are disappearing. Yeah, they're fading away from me, slowly fading. Alright, so what's that? It would be like ukiroku or something like that. If I tie this with conditionals, I sometimes feel lost as there is a case where either seem applicable. For some... Okay, wait, let me read the first question first. だんだん抜けていく。ダメでしょ。ダメ。はげるわ。For example, お金がなければやる気も消えていく。Makes sense because it's a hypothetical, but お金がないとやる気も消えてくる。消えてくる is a bit weird because it would disappear towards you. If that's not a typo, feels like it can be because when Flare like already reached that place. Wait, sorry, are we now asking about the difference between nakereba and naito? Or because 消えてくる is a bit weird because you're saying it's disappearing but towards you, so it's kind of weird. I don't know if you would say that, maybe, but it seems kind of weird. But that 暗くなってきた means it's getting darker, although I would have thought that means it got dark. It's just it got dark as actual literal meaning, but I mean, of course it will get even darker. I think 暗くなってきた could also mean that it has reached peak darkness. なくなるだね. Okay. So with money, maybe like なくなる would be better. So you なくなっていく or whatever would also work. But yeah. I guess I did Kyoku but got confused. Okay. I don't think you would... I'm trying to think, but I don't think you would ever use... どうでしょうね。消えてくるなんか使う... どうでしょう。使えるかな。だってこう消えてくるってちょっと変じゃないかな。消えてくる。まあ、来るってのはね、その自分の方向に来て、でも消えるってのはその逆。消えていく。消えてくる has disappeared to me. 怪しい。No, that's not how it works. That's not generally how it works. It disappears, it's not coming back. It's a bit weird. I don't know, maybe there would be a case, but I'm struggling to think of an application of something like 消えてくる. It's a bit strange. Because like it's generally not a thing that happens toward you. Even conceptually. Like by definition, disappearing sort of means like going away, right? You don't generally think of a disappearance as a movement that happens towards you. So I think it's a bit weird. I wouldn't use it. I personally wouldn't use it. Maybe there's some tokasu. Sorry, lose all memory, but then they put it back, sorta. But like that wouldn't be kieru. That'd be the opposite. Coming back would be like kyoku ga yomigaeru or something like that. Yomigaette kuru. Like they're coming back gradually. Yeah, space, time, general concept of toward you. It can be space or time. Or even like more abstract than that. The light, something fading, coming to you like firefly. But generally, like, so, okay, let's make an example. Let's say a firefly is flying toward you, and the light of the firefly is just disappearing slowly, and then you can't see it anymore. Even then, I would say two things. I would say, man, what's firefly again? Hotaru, right? Hotaru ga tonde kuru. It's flying toward me, but the light itself, hikari ga kiete iku. The light is disappearing away from me. I would still say that the light itself, the disappearance of the light still happens, conceptually speaking, away from me. And like kiete iku, sort of like over time it fades out, it goes away. 年月は流れていく is valid. I think it should be right. 年月 like the because 流れる can be used for time. So yeah, お金がないとやる気も消えてきた. It's I feel like the tenses are weird. Like I already lost the money and this motive. Okay, so okay. Because this お金がないと sounds still like a hypothetical. Like if there's no money. So then you generally wouldn't use a past tense because you're saying that based on a hypothetical condition, something will happen, but not based on a condition, something has already happened. Because then it's not a condition, then it's just a fact. Right? Like we wouldn't use a conditional. We would say お金がないからやる気も消えてきた. Because I have no money, I have lost all motivation. But you wouldn't say if I have no money, I have lost all motivation. That's just, I think that's just weird. I wouldn't say that. See, to leading into past tense. Okay, so like to can also mean when, right? You'd have to give me an example. This one I think sounds weird to me. You would have to like look for an example. 日光がだんだん消えていく. Yeah, the sunlight is fading away. I mean, even in English, when we say fade away, we use the word away, not fading to us or something. Try to find something. Yeah, do. I might just be... I'm trying to think. Hey, Thwipster, thanks for the follow. フォローありがとうございます. Thank you so much. We're getting kind of off track now. But yeah, maybe this is... I hope this is helpful. 消えてくる when you're charring... What is charon? Waiting for the guy to finally die so you can bring over the Styx River. Maybe. 日光がだんだん... Oh, I don't know this one, but it's kage. Perfectly possible. どういたしまして。いや、こちらこそ。いや、こちらこそじゃなくて、ありがとうございます。Oh, charon. Charon? 傷が消えてくる。傷が消えてくる from Google. From Google. Does that mean Google Translate or from some like website? I could maybe see that. It's still a bit strange for me, but yeah, maybe, yeah. We could probably almost always find some sort of exception. By the way, maybe, so all of this talk about like specific Googled kietekuru. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's good. I like I said, like, I'm not ultra surprised that someone has found a way to use it. Sounds a bit strange to me, but yeah, fair enough. Kietekuru. Okay, so maybe, okay, I have one. You are right. That actually does make sense. If we think about it in terms of time, as in it has disappeared and now I'm here with it gone. So kietekuru, dandan ko, yeah, like healing, right? Like it used to be here, and then over time from the past into the present, it has disappeared and now we're here in the present. Why wouldn't you just use heal instead? I mean, that's then just a matter of choice of words. Wouldn't that be more exact? But we don't always want to be exact. Sometimes we want to be poetic. Time, not place. Yeah. So in that case, found some form. You play the piano. I will do that. I think this is a good place to sort of end the lesson. If you have more questions, then just keep them coming. Kageru. Oh, it's kageru. Yeah. 日光が弱まる。夕暮れになる。そうですね。Naito is only used for future conditional. Generally, yeah, I'm not sure. You don't have to. I will. Don't worry, I don't mind. This lesson has been going on for a while anyways. So I think this is a good place to sort of leave this. It just felt like spending my coin. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna cut the recording here, but if you're watching this on YouTube and you have more questions, just throw them in the comment section. That's literally what it's for, innit? So yeah, just do that. And on the stream, of course, I'm still gonna be here. I'm not going anywhere. I just want to keep these recordings not too much over an hour. That's the main reason. So yeah, we'll cut it here, and we'll do the next one next week.